welcome to another episode of Chevrons, the podcast for the enlisted force. I'm Command Chief Master Sgt. Sean Sullivan, and I am joined with my esteemed colleague, Tim Sandlin.
Yes, Mr. Tim Sandlin, Public Affairs Office from the 102nd Intelligence Wing. Happy to be here, Chief.
And today we have a guest who's very near and dear to my heart, somebody that I had the pleasure to work with for several years and to do some first sergeanting with, our retired Master Sergeant, First Sergeant Stephanie Harkins. Stephanie, how are you today?
Good morning, Chief. I'm doing pretty great. I'm happy to be here. So thank you both for having me.
Well, no, thank you for coming on. One of the things we try to get across in podcast is that you're always part of the family. Just because people retire or they separate, there are things that happen with your time in the National Guard that just add a permanence to your life. And now that you're on the outside looking in, Tim just thought it would be a great idea to get you on here to get some of your perspectives now that you have retired and some of how life is treating you and just a few other questions along the way. But before we start kicking off, tell us a bit about yourself. I mean, what's your military story and what are you doing now?
Well, Chief, as you know, and as you mentioned, I'm Stephanie Harkins. I'm retired from the 102nd Mission Support Group. The majority of my career I spent in CE. Prior to enlisting in 102 CES, I was a crane operator in a bridge engineer company in the Connecticut Army National Guard. And then my last few years here after the Civil Engineering Squadron, I was actually their first sergeant before leaving there. And then I came over to MSG as their first sergeant, and I retired in October this past year. And right now I'm just focusing on building my business in real estate and some other things down the line.
That's a really, really interesting background that you have, especially being a crane operator, bridge engineering, and all that other stuff. I mean, that's some fun stuff to do. What drove you into CE or into that career field?
So initially, when I enlisted in the Army National Guard, I was a automated logistics specialist. Basically, I sat in an office by myself and did like work orders and things like that. And when I had some downtime or got bored, I would go hang out with the mechanics and the equipment operators, and I just kind of had some fun learning that stuff. So I switched my career field over to that while I was in the Army. And I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to stay in that type of career field when I left. So I did want to stay in the military, I just didn't want to stay where I was. So someone had introduced me to a recruiter down here, and I fell in love with it. So that's basically how I ended up in CE, and I had a really great career over there. I had a lot of fun, had a lot of great experiences, met a lot of awesome people. So I'm really glad that I made that switch.
Yeah, every time I go over to CE or I hang out with any of the Air Warriors over there, they just seem like it just seems like it's like a really fun, active, outdoor, get stuff done squadron. So
they're awesome. They work really hard, and it was like a second family to me after a while.
But you're not doing any of that on the outside. So what you did for the military and the things that you learned, you didn't do any of that on the outside. You're just doing your real estate business. What else did you do before your real estate business?
So I actually, I'm not sure if you knew this, but I know you knew my career prior. My civilian career for 17 years was I worked in corrections. It had great benefits and stuff, and then just recently I decided it was not for me anymore, so I resigned from that position, and I'm focusing on building my own business now, and I also decided that after leaving the military and having such a rewarding career, and just I loved working with the people here, I love veterans, period, so I decided that I wanted to go back to school and start a different career path, basically first sergeanting on the civilian side. So I'm looking to do something like that. I'm working out my benefit stuff right now, but I'm looking to go back to school and get my degree in psychology so that I can kind of take that path and see where that goes.
Wow, outstanding.
Multi-capable.
Yes, I love it.
So, Stephanie, to get back to a little bit of your history in the Air National Guard and in the Army Guard, how did the worth of staying in the military change for you over the years? What drove you to re-enlist, say, as a first-term airman versus as you became a career airman?
Well, as I had mentioned before, I started in the Connecticut Army Guard. I learned a lot. I made some good friends that I still talk to this day. I learned some skills, and I enjoyed it, but I wanted something different. So as I said, I came down here, and I could have left. I didn't know that I would stay after my first enlistment, but I did like the military. So the more time that I spent down here with CE and just with the 102nd in general, I didn't want to leave. And I honestly didn't think I would retire at 20. I thought I would stay a little bit longer, but I had so many things on my plate at once. So I figured it was time to move on and let other people shine. But just being here, the skills, the experiences, the trainings, deployments, and my passion for the organization, as I said, it became a second family. And I constantly wanted to be involved. I've always lived kind of far away, between an hour and a half and 2 hours, but any chance I could get to be here, I would try to make it, whether it be state active duty, deployments, volunteer opportunities, and then just over time, I just, like I said, the second family, and I knew I wanted to help other people be able to reach their goals and see my wingmen succeed, and just do what I could for the organization. So it became valuable to me and a big part of my life.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I suppose being, person, leading the way for your younger airmen, sometimes it's good to know when to step out of the way too, and let them, things don't grow unless, they're groomed, and including yourself. So moving on to bigger and better things, the psychology, that I wasn't even aware of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a kind of a recent decision when I left the military. I was like, I still love this. I want to find a way to stay involved. I'm pursuing different volunteer opportunities too, that I can, just to be involved with some of that type of stuff. And I can explain some of that a little bit down the line if you wanted. But yeah, I think that it's what I want to do. I have a passion for it, so.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it seems like your experiences in the military have really prepared you for your career and your career interests now that you're retiring. And it almost sounds like some of what you were developing and the skills you were developing as a member of the 102nd and in the military actually, drove you to get your new degree that you're going for in psychology or whatever. So what professional military education or skills and things that you gathered along the way, what sort of skills that you acquired, how they helped you in this transition and in real estate and now pursuing your career?
I think just throughout my entire military career, just everything that I've learned, everything I've been exposed to, just as a start. I came from a small town. I wasn't exposed to a ton. I mean, I traveled here and there with my family, but just, vacations and stuff. So I think learning the communication, being exposed to diversity, and then just things like time management, organizational skills, self-discipline, stuff like that, really helps anybody in the civilian world. So those were definitely big key players. As I furthered my military career, I learned I understood the importance of the PME and even the civilian education. I had taken some college courses right out of high school. I never finished my degree and kind of always toyed with the idea of going back one day, but never really felt a need for it for a long time because I did have that civilian career with the benefits and everything, and I just got comfortable. So some of the opportunities presented to me in the Air Force encouraged me to go forward and complete my degree in business administration. And then being a realtor, that kind of makes sense. I've been kind of business-minded. So, in addition to things like the PME and my degree, I just basically gained a love of continuing education and just always looking to constantly learn.
So, as a first sergeant and being in the real estate field, both jobs or both careers, I would imagine, that require attention sometimes quickly and without much notice at times. What was it like juggling both simultaneously?
Well, Tim, it was very difficult at times, and it wasn't just those two careers. The real estate is something I didn't pursue until 2016, and I really just did that out of I want to do something different. I want to jump into something else, and that's just how I am. But I was working full-time for the state at that point. So I had my 40 hours plus a week there. I was doing everything I could to further my real estate business. And becoming a first sergeant is not just you show up on the weekends and go home Sunday afternoon. It's a lot of extra hours. And in addition to that, at one point, I was going to school full-time. So when I say time management and organizational skills are very important, it's very important. So with all that stuff on my plate, it was very important to me to focus on self-care and remind myself to take care of myself at times because, if you get burnt out, you're not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to be able to help anyone else. You're not going to be able to do a good job. So I had to constantly remind myself to give myself those little breaks and, whether it be a 5-minute meditation or take a little getaway.
Oh, absolutely.
Anything to just give myself some time.
Well, one of the things that I always like to say is that being in the military and going through our PME and going through all the different leadership things and all the different skills that you acquire and how we try to develop people as airmen, we make better airmen, but we also make better people. And it just really sounds like you have gathered a great amount of experiences and skills on your way to retirement and moving on. What would you consider to be a few of the most important qualities or skills that you can draw from your enlisted career and that paid dividends now in the civilian sector?
I would definitely say the self-discipline is a big thing, to be able to do the school and the multiple careers and stick with it. I see a lot of times people in the civilian world don't stick with things that they want to do or they start doing, and I found that this self-discipline was very important to that. Being able to communicate and the ability to adapt to situations and think quickly to solve problems are very important too, because you never know what's going to get thrown at you.
So shifting gears a little bit, what prompted the invitation, and thank you for accepting our invitation here today. But one of the things that prompted it is we've been friends on Facebook for some time, and I noticed a little while back, a couple months ago, I saw you pop up on my Facebook feed, and you're it was Las Vegas, right?
It was Las Vegas, yes.
Yep, and I saw Military Influencer Conference, or at least a combination of those words, and that intrigued me, and I'm like, what's Stephanie doing at a military influencers conference? I didn't even know she was on YouTube. But
so it wasn't actually a YouTube thing,
right.
And I had never heard of it before. But I'm very glad that I did. So I had ended up going to the Military Influencer Conference in Vegas this past October, and it was actually a very last-minute decision. I wasn't sure. I was invited, actually, by a former member of the 102nd Civil Engineer Squadron, Lizeth Velez. She was HVAC, I believe. But regardless, she left and she started her own company, LJV Development, and she's doing really well with that. And she's just a huge inspiration. So I've been friends with her since she was in the unit. And I was like, I'm not really sure if it's financially responsible. I got to make some decisions. I left my other job. And I was like, you know what? It's not like I'm going to Vegas to go to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas to get something out of it, to go to this conference. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to go. And again, I'm so happy that I did. I took the invite not really knowing what to expect, but I figured if anything, I'll walk away with some knowledge and some tools to help me advance my own business and possibly do some networking. And as I said, I'm really happy that I went. The conference is basically a community of entrepreneurs, influencers, creators, executives. They're all either veterans or military spouses. They all believe in the importance of mentorship. They work to inspire one another. And they're all looking for new ways to collaborate. So there was tons of workshops to choose from getting started in your entrepreneurship journey to mastering your network, tools to improve your social media, marketing, podcasting, personal achievement, diversity, building your brand, you name it, financial tools, just different panels, and mentoring and networking sessions. It was really awesome. And then there's one segment that I would like to touch on because we all know the importance of focusing on the 22 and the downsides of being in the military, and I feel that's important all the time. But one thing that I really appreciated at the end of the conference, they had like a mental health kind of panel day. They had a lot of different speakers come up, and it was just really awesome. But one of the points that they brought up was the fact that there are so many of these initiatives focused on veteran suicide. And as I said, I completely agree that it's important, building the camaraderie and awareness and addressing the issues as necessary. But one thing that really struck me as empowering was that with all the focus on the issues that so many veterans unfortunately end up with, was that it's almost like we're basically told to expect to end up that way, and we're going to become a part of those statistics. And you never really hear the success stories that veterans have get focused on. So there was a lot of folks who are able to overcome the darker side of things and go on and do great things with the knowledge, skills, and experiences that they've had. So it was super inspirational to listen to those speakers who turn their experiences into something positive for their life and even the lives of others. So, the veteran community is really an amazing group of strong, resilient, talented, and smart people.
That's wonderful. Sounds like you got a lot out of that conference.
I did. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and Chief, as a side note, it sounds like something we'd be interested in. Maybe we should take the show on the road and see if we can get an invite to Vegas next year and do a remote.
I'd be happy to do what I can to help.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would really, because we haven't really approached mental wellness and those angles as much on this program yet, but it's definitely a topic that is in our, it's within our realm, and I'd definitely like to talk about it at some point.
Yeah, and Stephanie, obviously this is an annual conference. Will you be able to generate any information for us, or like when the next one's coming up, maybe share it with Tim and I so we can share it with more of our members?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I have to tell you the truth, until this interview, I had no idea that they had such a conference. And I just think that this would just be huge for so many of our members. And especially, like you said, tying in just all the entrepreneurs and influencers and creators and executives and all those other people that were there. I just think that just would be a great motivation, a great skill set for our airmen to have outside of the normal conferences that we attend in uniform.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome. It is active, Guard people or active military, as well as vets and mil spouses as well. So I know there's a lot of talent here in the 102nd, and I think it would be great to give that opportunity to some of the members that are trying to go on their own entrepreneurial journey.
And Tim, I love the idea of going on the road and going there and capturing some military members, airmen and soldiers, et cetera, that are there. That I think would be a great episode.
Yeah, and Chief, like one of the as I'm listening to you, Stephanie, and you talking, maybe I had a preconceived notion of the term influencer, and I see it all the time. Being in public affairs, I'm very deep into social media, whether I want to be or not. And the word influencer sometimes has a negative connotation, and it's kind of a narcissistic. It can be sometimes a narcissistic kind of tag, because it's all about me. I'm the influencer, and people taking advantage and being sort of selfish because it's all about them. But this is completely opposite from the sound of it. It's more about helping, the larger group of veterans out there. And that's very responsible, and it's very, very refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. Social media is a funny thing. Love it or hate it, sometimes both, but I know what you mean with like the Instagram influencers and people on YouTube. I've never really gotten too much into the YouTube, but with my business, I've gotten business pages for some of the other sites, and I know what you mean, like, hey, wear this brand and go out there and sell this brand. But yeah, it is nice to have a group of people just influencing each other in a positive way. So it was definitely different than what I would have imagined too before going. So it was pretty cool.
That's great.
And now that we're talking about social media, that brings up a question that I have for you, because I want you to put your first sergeant hat on, because as you know, as first sergeants, we we'll hear about social media faux pas from our airmen from time to time. But at the same time, we're always encouraged to tell our military story. I mean, it gets a little bit murky having to navigate social media. Can you give us what you consider a healthy balance? And I would like both your perspectives as you as a Air Force Air Warrior leader, and now that you are on the outside as a civilian. What is a healthy balance for you in social media as far as navigating all the different risk factors and all the different positive and negative influences that it can present?
Well, I mean, I've always tried to be careful with posting things, any too detailed things, or obviously no type of PII or anything like that, regardless of business or personal. And as I said, I worked in other careers where I didn't want any of my personal information out there. My personal pages are locked down like Fort Knox. I mean, just for personal security. It's not that I post anything, too personal on there, but it's, things that the whole world doesn't need to see. And then, the business pages, they're public, so it's even more important to be aware of safety and security issues. But as a business owner, you want to have your information out there too, so people can see what you do and what you have to offer and how you're involved. But things like posting that you're away from home, I didn't post the military influencer stuff until afterwards, because you never know who's watching, who's going to see that you're not home. Oh, okay, great, she's away. Again, it can be good or bad, but keeping that stuff in mind, I think it can be great for marketing and interacting with the public. But again, security is always something that I keep in mind. And you can absolutely interact with an audience without compromising your security. And, like you hear stuff about apps like TikTok and Instagram and other sites that people may be able to access information from your phone or in your phone. I've seen people's profiles get hacked, and I've gotten friend requests from my friends that I thought were legit and that weren't. So just being cognizant of that kind of stuff. I'd always report it. Just keeping vigilant. And then, things that we learn here in information awareness, as much as we've all loved it, like links that you don't know where they're from. That stuff's real in the outside world too. So just having your business info out there for anyone in the public to see. I've gotten tons of spam emails and texts. I still get them all the time, but I just remain mindful of the motives behind some of that stuff. And, another thing is wire scams. As a civilian, especially in real estate, there's money being transferred back and forth. So just trying to keep your clientele informed about that kind of stuff and just remain vigilant with it.
Well, it must be a challenge, on one hand, you're aware of all the risks out there, and you're trying to be as careful as you can. But on the marketing side of your life, you're trying to advertise your business, or you're not going to grow as a business without getting out there. So it must be quite a dance to make sure it's just enough information.
It sure is. It's definitely a balance.
Oh, and I struggle with that all the time. I have some things I do on the side. And I'm always trying to market those on social media, but people know that, what I do in the military end, and I'm so close-lipped, and people are always like, trying to IM me of, hey, what's a cool thing you're doing? Or what about it? And it's such a tightrope for me. But you seem to navigate it with ease and comfort. I am always like, if it's not about, marketing something for something one of my shows or something like that, if it's not marketing that, I am like, I just am afraid to post. And I don't think that airmen need to be afraid of that. They just need to be cognizant of all the things that you talked about and the necessity to telling your airman, your air warrior story, but at the same time, not divulging too much.
You're absolutely right, Chief. I mean, I'm proud to advertise the things that I do and the service that I've done in the military. But again, it's about finding that balance and not putting too much risky information out there. So that's pretty much what it comes down to.
So, kind of leading off of that question or that discussion, How important is having a social media presence and or establishing a personal or professional brand? How can it be used to your advantage?
Well, in this day and age, pretty much everyone's on social media. So I think it's great to constantly have posts where you can engage with people. Doing that not only allows you to stay in front of an audience and show that you're interactive with them, but it's also an opportunity to give them more insight to who you are as a person and to let them see the things that you're doing other than just advertising and marketing. Then there's perks. You can find networking events. There's so many things. Like Facebook, they have the event invites, and there's a lot of stuff out there that is only on Facebook. Some businesses don't even have a website anymore. They just use their Facebook page. So being able to find networking events, showcasing your services, volunteer opportunities or community involvement, there's all kinds of stuff out there. And it really gives it the human side to it, who you are, things you're involved with, things you enjoy doing, and just overall connecting with people as people. Personally, I utilize Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, but they're all pretty much one and the same when it comes down to it.
Yeah, you've got to decide which applications are going to work best for you and what best suits your mission, or your life mission or your career mission. What's going to help best propel you forward.
Right, and you kind of have to tailor it also to what are people using.
Right.
I might not be a fan of Facebook or what, just as an example, but I'm using it to get myself out there and connect with people.
It's like a necessary evil.
Yeah, it can be good too, but yeah, some days I'm like, I don't want this thing.
All right, because I'm struggling with my social media profiles, et cetera, trying to enhance, my career. I know it would benefit more with a better social media profile. What advices would you give somebody like myself for, somebody considering a career that would be aided by a social media profile? What can we do to improve that?
I would say go for it, Chief. You get out there, let the world know who you are and what you can do. Who you are as a person. Of course, you want to keep your personal safety and security in check, as well as OPSEC and definitely the security of any customers or clients you might have, because people need to know that their safety is priority when they're working with you as well. But, like I said, market and showcase yourself, grow your network, stay connected, stay involved, reach out to people, get creative. You got to find a way to brand yourself or stand out. You can do that with things like logos, a particular niche, something just to let the world know what makes you different or special. And then, you can lean on others and return the favors, repost another friend's small business or, I try to do that, give and take, help other people get out there too. And they really appreciate that. In a business world, we need each other. Partner up, help each other out. Don't burn bridges. Work with your mentorships and competitors. Just work together.
And you talk about working together and mentoring and coaching and all things that are very important to me. And this is a classic example of what I try to get across to people is that you don't mentor up. You mentor with people that are like-minded, that have skills that can help enhance you, that you have a connection with. And I bring that up to say, I'm going to be reaching out to you directly and see if you can assist me with some of those, with some of my social media profile things, because you are definitely one of my mentors and one of my coaches that I've had throughout my military career. And I appreciate you. So
I would be more than happy to help you with that. I actually enjoy that aspect of things. So I would love to do that for you, Chief.
Great. That is my big weakness.
Yeah. And Chief, you're in one of the few positions in the military that has, a need for a social media profile out there, between commanders at various levels and senior enlisted leaders at various levels, like command chief for the state. Your position specifically lends itself to a prominent social media profile. So yeah, definitely.
And that's the tightrope, Tim, because I love doing all that in person. I try to visit the wings 2, 3, 4 times a year. All I want to do is talk to airmen. And when you think about it, as you are both saying and relaying, the message is valid. and you have to get that greater reach. It's just so hard for me on social media because I still um, I'm still grasping to understand the nuances and all. But Stephanie, I'm going to be reaching out to you, and we'll work together on that to help me get a better profile. And Tim, I'm going to be leaning on you too, sir, because PA, that you guys are the gurus for that. And as much as I love doing chevrons and getting myself out there, other than that, when you go on my Facebook page, all you see is a picture and then a bunch of, marketing stuff that I do on the side for my side business. So I gotta robust that up some.
So one piece of advice I can give you in the meantime that might be helpful, Chief, is I don't know if you follow Chief Bass on social media, but she's
Absolutely
constantly posting. So I see her stuff all the time, and maybe that could give you some inspiration for the types of posts you could do or what you're doing, and just, put it out there. And when you interact with younger airmen or any members, really, they love to see that stuff. Hey, look what I did. I was talking to Chief Sullivan. Or I did this event, or what may be it. So just maybe you could look to that or other senior leaders' pages that are active for some inspiration.
And it's funny because there were so many great ones. Chief Bass hers is fantastic. Retired Air National Guard Command Chief Anderson. He always had like great messaging. Chief Williams, who is the current Air National Guard Command Chief, he does a great job. The list goes on. So yeah, it is an area of improvement. So I'm going to lean on you two as my team to guide, assist, and direct me.
Absolutely, Chief.
So we were just talking just a moment ago. We were the term or the subject of mentorship came up. Stephanie, did you have a mentor or teammate that really made a difference in your career?
Well, in the Air Force, I have had tons of good leadership, starting from CE. I came over as an NCO from the Army, and they saw some potential in me. I mean, I was always here. I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to do my job, and I just wanted to do a good job. I wasn't looking for recognition, anything like that, but somehow some of these leaders saw a potential and constantly encouraged me to go further in my career, and I will be forever thankful because I didn't have some of the skills or even the confidence to think that I could do some of the things that I've done without them. And that's also a part of what made me want to pay it forward throughout my career. Chief Ahasey was my first sergeant shortly after I went into civil engineering, and he's always been an excellent guide, and I've gone to him multiple times over my career, even as a shirt. And he's just been an amazing mentor in that aspect. Chief Sullivan, you're one of them. Lots of the chiefs. Chief Nadeau, who retired from CE, just the people that you can tell care about others and their careers, and stuff like that just makes me want to be a better leader. I had Colonel Henderlong, who was my first commander I worked for as a shirt. Colonel Layton, Colonel Ivers, so many other senior NCOs, the First Sergeants Council, all these people, even just fellow members, they've all guided and encouraged me throughout my career, and I will always appreciate that. Some of the leaders have pushed me to do my PME, my civilian education, got me on boards. I learned public speaking through doing some of these things. Chief, you had me go do a seminar at the Time Conference. I've never done that, but it was pretty awesome to be able to do it. And once you get over that initial fear of just go do it, and I'll stand up there with my paper and I'm like, sorry guys, but I need this because I'm going to stand up here and be like, I don't know what to do with my hands right now. But it's, you get over that. It's nice to know that I had people encouraging me to do things that I was uncomfortable with and get out of that comfort zone. Just communicating amongst the ranks, and being able to speak to the public when we went out and did other things with the public in a way that positively represents the military. All this stuff just gave me the confidence to get out there and show the world what I can do and what I have to offer, and made me realize that I can do it. Years ago, I may not have never even considered that. So, I really appreciate all the mentorship and wingmanship throughout the years.
Well, one of the things that really lead to growth, and you hit the nail on the head, is getting out of your comfort zone. What is the most uncomfortable assignment or task or deployment, anything that you've done in the military that you stepped up to that you learned the most from and was the most rewarding to you?
Well, as you started asking that question, I'm like, oh man, what's this answer gonna be? Because there's been a lot of things, but I would have to say becoming a first sergeant. It was not, I didn't enter the military with that goal. I didn't even know what a first sergeant did when I was in the Army. I just knew he followed the commander around. So coming into the Air Force, I've had different types of leaders, and I saw what a first sergeant had the potential to do for the entire unit, and I was like, I want to do that. I love these people. I want to do that, and I want to do the best job I can. And I absolutely, I was ready for it personally, but I don't know if I was ready for it. So I was approached about the opening in CE at that time, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not prepared for this. I mean, yes, I'm taking the steps here and there to get to where I should be, and it was like full speed ahead. I'm gonna go for it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go for it. And I feel like every day as a shirt was, I don't know what's gonna get thrown at me, but I'm just gonna do it. So you talk about comfort zone, I would definitely say being a first sergeant, but it was also the most rewarding part of my career. So very glad that I had the opportunity and thankful for those who saw that in me.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, even looking at it from my position, I am honored to have my current position. I am appreciative of it, and I'm trying to impact as many lives as I possibly can and make things better before I retire in a couple of years. So it's an important position for me. But going back to what you were saying about being a first sergeant, that to me was the most outside my comfort zone position I ever had. It was the greatest and the most rewarding. And when you think about it, no other person has as much impact other than perhaps the commander on a unit as the first sergeant, because it is all personality based. It is all relationship based. You get a closeness to your people. You get to really, really know them inside and out. You get to go through their joys and their triumphs, but at the same time, you have to be there for the disciplinary aspect. Sometimes you have to help supervisors make those course corrections. You have to have tough conversations, which are difficult, but you just get that bonding, that fellowship that I don't think any other position has in the military. I mean, there are a lot, you being a supervisor, all those things. Yes, all that is right then and there as well. But you get so much more of it as a first sergeant. And on top of that, you work directly for the commander. So you understand the strategic vision of the unit. You understand how everything, I mean, it's just, every day was like drinking from a fire hose. So yes, I have to agree with you on that. Being a first sergeant.
You're absolutely right. And one of the things that like really just hit me hard when I first started first sergeanting was I actually have a voice for people. And there's been times throughout my career, and I'm sure we've all dealt with it, where you didn't feel like you mattered, or your voice wasn't heard, or your needs weren't met, or whatever it may be. And when I actually realized that I could have a voice listen to these people and have a voice for them and actually have it be heard, it was like the best feeling in the world. And it's something that I never had before. I'm like, this is amazing. And then just, coming from CE and being their shirt, I had a bond with them, but just it was a different level. As you said, some of the stuff was negative, and being able to help people work through that. And hey, I'm just doing my job, and I care about what I'm doing. But when you see how appreciative somebody is, and how you actually did impact a part of their life, it's just, I can't even explain how rewarding that is. So definitely loved it.
Well, just with my years of service and my experience, and I was never a shirt, but just by observation and seeing so many scenarios go down through my years, I could say that there's probably no other career field that is responsible for saving more military careers, because the First Sergeant Corps, those guys, you guys, you got, sometimes you have those negative situations come through the door. You're one of the people that are, charged with trying to save a career. If somebody's going down a wrong path or made a wrong choice, we talk about discipline, and obviously that's what a lot of people think of immediately when they think of a first sergeant, discipline. But really, you're people's safety net. You're there to put them on the right path.
Yeah, and of course, there is that negative stuff, and things happen. But again, we're all human, and if there's a way to rectify something, it's you're helping somebody get on that path. It's nice to be able to sit behind closed doors with a commander and have that conversation and understand what their perspective is, and kind of bridging that gap between the enlisted people and making sure that everything is really just a well-oiled machine. So it really is a powerful position.
And not just to the enlisted people, but also helping your commanders. And I was recently at a big event in DC a couple weeks back, a bunch of command chiefs and chiefs there, and generals and et cetera. And there was a retired lieutenant general that was there that came right over to one of the command chiefs and started talking about, when you were a first sergeant, you made my career, you provided me lessons, you provided me this valuable feedback. I would have never have been where I was when I retired if it was not for you being my first sergeant and influencing me and assisting me and being, a advisor to me as much as you were to the enlisted force. And that's the other power of being a first sergeant is it's the two prong. I mean, you're right there hand in hand with the commander. Now, I got one follow-up question for you. One more, and that is for all the people that are out there listening right now, all our young air warriors that are now suddenly going, first sergeant, this sounds cool. How would you recommend that they take the next step on their way to becoming a first sergeant? What can they do to follow that path and get to be a first sergeant?
Well, I would say, first and foremost, as much as it's already drilled into everyone, it's important, do your PME, make sure you have all your ducks in a row with that. And then, you're going to need your CCAF or your civilian equivalent. So work on that stuff, and it's going to benefit you in your personal life too. But those are just some of the requirements. But I would say get involved. Get involved with, any functions that your unit may be doing. Just get to know the people if you don't already. Go to things like the time conference or anything that's going to benefit you personally and professionally. Some of that stuff I'd never expected. Just another military thing, but I'm going to go. So some of the stuff like the time conference, for example, was amazing. Like it gives you a lot of perspective, and there's so many different speakers on different topics, and I was like, this is actually really cool. I wish I could go all the time, but I've been to one, and I spoke at one and got to see some of the presentations at that one, and just I was never let down by any of the content at all. Just anything like that's going to help you out. And being involved. I think those are some of the biggest pieces. Make those relationships and, just put yourself out there.
And you had mentioned the time conference, so I need to put this out for our listeners, is that the time conference is Technical Sergeants and Mentoring Enlisted. It is a conference that we put on every other year in Massachusetts. It was started by retired State Command Chief McDonald. It has become a best practice. It has been exported out to 11, last count was 11 other states. It has that much value. So if you're listening and you are a tech sergeant, or you are a newly promoted master sergeant, or you are a staff sergeant that is on the verge of making tech sergeant, that's the rank structure we're looking for. Our time conference is going to be held in August of 2023. My office is going to be sending some information out to both wings. And we are also going to be having people attend from wings outside the state, because I know we have listenership from across the 90, really. So if you are listening to this, if you are one of our Space Force members on Otis, you are Camp Edwards, you are welcome to attend. Hanscom active duty people will have some slots for you, and we're even going to have some slots for our Army counterparts. I'd love to get this a little bit more joint flavor in it. That was the intent years ago, so I'll be pushing that. So if you are interested in the time conference, it is going to be this August, and keep your eye out for the flyers. I'm going to be sending them out to all the other state command chiefs to see if they want to send anybody as well. So I'm going to get off my soapbox on the time conference now, but it was brought up and I wanted to make sure our listenership understood what it was, the value, and when the next one is.
So I have a couple of follow-on questions. I'm really interested to know, Stephanie, can you impart some wisdom on our listeners?
I just in general, for everything we've been discussing, first and foremost, if you want something, pursue it. It's not going to always be easy, but if you put your mind to it and you really want it, you can and you will accomplish great things. And it might not go the way that you initially planned, but that's just going to be learning opportunities. You're going to hit obstacles, but you'll overcome them. You know, they say things like you fall down, you get back up. It's true. Just keep pushing through. You may have to sacrifice. I've passed up tons of fun things in order to get the work done that I needed to do. I've literally cried as a grown woman, struggling with some obstacles. And for anyone who knows me, that's saying a lot, because I don't think anyone here has ever seen me cry. I'm usually a pretty happy person, but it's human. So
I've got some onions over here for you to slice. If you,
No, that's all right. I'm not trying to cry, but really, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. But in the end, don't even stop there. Keep going. You never know where you could end up. There's possibilities are endless. You know, I actually have a tattoo that is kind of some words that I live by. Basically, it's all what you put into it. My tattoo says you get what you give. And, you know, people could interpret that different ways, but if you're putting something into it, you're going to get the reward from it. So, you know, if things don't go the way expected, as I said, you adapt and overcome. Try to think outside the box and get creative and find a way to overcome things. Another point that I'd like to make is foster connections. You know, the people you work with, your sphere of influence, help others succeed. People are going to appreciate that. They're going to recognize that. They're not going to forget it. You know, just it's good leadership, whether you're a military or civilian. I will always believe, and this may be the shirt in me, but I will always believe that people really are the root and foundation of a successful organization. You know, if anyone ever wants to chat, I'm always open to chatting with them, who would like input, advice, anything like that.
Sure.
So, you know, I might be gone, but I'm still here.
So what are you working on now? Any big projects? Let me just preface by saying the floor is yours. Tell us what's going on.
All right. Well, that's funny you should ask. So I am in the beginning phases of pursuing some of the goals, some that I mentioned already. When I left my other job, I switched brokerages just for some growth opportunities to focus on my business, maybe eventually pursue my broker's license and see where that takes me. Honestly, I started this real estate career just as, well, let me take a class and see where it goes, but I really enjoy it a lot. So that's something that's going to stick with me. And that is also rewarding. I love to see people happy at the end of the day, at the end of their transaction, whatever it may be. And you know what, like anything else, there's obstacles to overcome with that and some frustrations, you know, but at the end of the day, when I can see people smile and happy, then I'm happy. Aside from that, like I mentioned, I'm working out the details, but I'm looking to go back to school full-time again this year. Going back to pursue my goals with working with veterans. You know, you can't take the first sergeant out of me, even if I'm no longer here. Another organization I've recently become affiliated with, that I found out about through the time conference, the military influencer conference, it's called Bunker Labs. It's nationwide, and it's basically a network of veterans and male spouses as well. But each state, or not every single state, but a lot of states, they have their own cohort, and it's basically a network of entrepreneurs who are able to just talk to each other, provide each other with resources, business-wise, and just help each other out with their businesses. So I found out about that. I'm like, that is awesome. So I've been pursuing that. And then I've been reaching out to some other, just multiple veteran organizations to just to get involved and start pursuing that path, because I really do enjoy it. And then a couple of organizations, aside from things like the Legion and the USO, stuff like that we all know of. Some of the organizations I found out about through networking with other veterans through Bunker Labs. There's a couple that I'm getting involved with. One is called Buffer Springs. It's a veteran-owned company that I believe it was 2021 that it was founded, and he's a former Marine who started it up. Buffersprings.com. It's basically bridging the gap between military and civilian careers. We see so many businesses out there that say, "Oh, we hire vets and this and that," but they just throw it out there just to, hey, yeah, we support it, but do we really? And, nothing ever comes of it, or if they do, great. But this is like legit, like helping people with their resumes and not just, hey, you were security forces, so you should be a cop. You were infantry, so you should do that. What do you really enjoy? And helping people find a path and get into what they really want to do. So I think that's one awesome organization. And then there's another one. I believe he was also a Marine as well. It's called Frost Call, and that basically, it fosters a community for vets that have a common interest in video and tabletop games. They do in-person gaming events and online conversations, just as a mean to stay in touch and support brothers and sisters. They advocate for peer and professional support with veteran mental health and well-being. And the best part about that is they come to you. And that's frostcall.org for anyone who's interested in that. I know we have...
That's cool.
The newer generations are really into the video gaming, so I did think that was a pretty cool initiative.
That's awesome, Stephanie. That's a lot of great resources.
Well, I'm just going to wrap up by saying that, Stephanie, you were one of the finest air warriors I had the opportunity to serve with. The highlights of my career have nothing to do with accolades or with promotions or assignments. It has nothing to do with that. The highlights of my career are the people that I got to work with, that touched me, that motivated me, that moved me. And I just wanted you to know that you were one of the finest first sergeants and finest air warriors I ever had the opportunity to serve with. And I thank you for being part of this podcast. I know I got a lot out of it, and I think our listenership did as well.
Thank you, Chief. It was an honor to have worked with you and have you as a mentor as well. And it was definitely a great honor to be welcomed back on the base. And, I love being here. So I'm glad that I was able to come on the podcast. Thank you, Tim, for setting this up. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm just honored to be here. So
yeah, we may end up inviting you back. So be prepared for a part 2 to this. Perhaps at some point.
I'm up for it.
That's great. So, Chief, you want to take us out?
I just want to thank our listeners once again. Thank you for being one of our listeners for the Chevrons podcast. We appreciate you. We are here for you. And if anybody has any ideas, or if there are any guests you would like to hear on here, or any topics you'd like us discussed, please reach out to us. And Tim, let them know how they can get us.
We do have an email address, chevrons.podcast@gmail.com. Feel free to email us there, and you will get a quick response.